You know what I'm holding here? I'm holding here in my hands a cup of hot coffee, which I'm going to drink. That's good. I don't know how much this cup of coffee cost me in total. I mean, I was gifted this cup, so I guess the cup is free. I use one of these capsule machines to to make my coffee, and whilst the capsules are a little bit expensive, I'll admit that they're not too expensive. I'm assuming, let's see, I'm buying two or I'm using two capsules, and in each package of capsules, there's, let me think off aloud, there's 10 capsules of the actual brand in question that I'm using. And I'm using two capsules, so that's, and each package costs $5 roughly. So $5. That means, let me think out loud, 50 cents. Yeah, 50 cents per capsules, or per capsule, excuse me, or $1 for per per pair of capsules. So for this cup in question, it's $1, a $1 coffee. Not too bad. I mean, I could probably get it for cheaper, but that's not the point. That's actually, well, it's actually part of the point. But I'm gonna get to that later. What's important now is that you listen very, very carefully, because if you're going out and you're buying a coffee, you're quite likely not going to get a coffee for $1, especially not in the Western Hemisphere. Maybe if you're living in some third world country where prices are low, maybe. Surely here in Norway, you're not going to get a $1 cup of coffee. I think the lowest amount I've seen lately might have been $3 roughly, and that's very, very low. And we're talking about like a small cup, like one of these small paper cups this size, just like a coffee shot, pretty much. If you want a large mug, like this is really like a larger mug of coffee, you're gonna have to pay at the very least $6 or $7. Very, 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 very likely that you're gonna have to do that. Anyway, regardless. So here's an insane thing that I heard. And the reason it's so insane is that the price is so obscure. It's so crazy. Now, before we get into the weeds here, folks, let me just tell you that normally I don't complain over prices. In fact, or I do complain over prices, but I do it the other way. In fact, I take a bit of pride in going for the most expensive option, because normally the higher the price, the higher the quality, the higher the longer the duration of the product and or service, and chances are that you're going to be more satisfied. Really, that's why I take pride in paying more, because I want the expensive stuff. Because normally the expensive stuff is going to give me a better experience across all spheres, which is why whenever I have, well, I actually just said it already. If I have a choice between buying an expensive suit versus an inexpensive suit. Actually, let's take this tracksuit. This tracksuit right here. It didn't cost me much, but it wasn't the cheapest option. I'll admit, it probably wasn't the most expensive option either, but it was the more expensive option, or it was on the more expensive side. Why? Because I wanted something that lasted. If I have a choice between buying two tracksuits and they look the same, but one is higher priced than the other, I'm gonna automatically go for the one that's got a higher price. Normally, because the fabric is probably of a higher quality. Maybe the zipper is better. Maybe it can. What's the word I'm looking for here? Maybe it can withstand several cycles in a washing machine much better than a cheaper suit could. Believe me, I've actually had pieces of clothing where you can see that the fabric has been torn apart after several rounds or several revolutions, physically and metaphorically, in the washing machine. So think about that. Anyway, not to lecture you about clothing and so on, but you get the point. So, by extension, when I'm out, I want the more expensive stuff, but that doesn't apply to beverages. So the reason I'm going so deep into the weeds is I heard a crazy, insane story the other day. Not about coffee, but about cacao, hot cacao. So imagine this is a cup of delicious hot cacao that you want. And the story in question occurred at some sort of a Christmas festival in London this past year. Now, at the time of the recording, maybe you're watching this and it's right around Christmas time, so that'll give you some food for thought. But right around Christmas time, this time last year, today is January the 10th, 2026. So the Christmas celebrations are done and over with, but according to the calendar of the church here, we're actually still in Christmas, believe it or not. I think Christmas is going to last for another week or so, according to my church calendar, but I'm not completely sure. Anyway, let's get back to the point here. So, at this Christmas festival in London last year, do you know how much they charge for a cup of hot cacao at the festival? I gotta tell you, they charge 11 pounds. 11 British pounds for a cup of cacao. Pause for a second and think about that. 11 pounds. So, for everyone who's international and who do not use or who does not use pounds, me included, by the way, I don't use pounds, nor do I use dollars or euros. I use my currency, the Norwegian krone. Anyway, this is roughly 15 US dollars for one cup, and I guess right around the same amount in euros, maybe 14 euros and 15 US dollars roughly, or 150 Norwegian kroner, believe it or not, for a cup of coffee. So if you're a family of four and you each want to have your dedicated cup of excuse me, I said coffee, I meant cacao. If you want a cup of cacao for everyone in your family of four, well, guess what? That's 60 British pounds. No. I was wrong. That's 44 British pounds, 60 US dollars. 60 US dollars or 600 Norwegian kroner for 4 cups of coffee. That's crazy. I mean, you're talking about price inflation and so on. I don't want to make this a financial podcast. Maybe I should, but whatever. Here's the point. This is crazy and insane because you can get much better cacao elsewhere. I bet you. I bet everything that you have that this isn't the best cacao in the world. Because according to the festival, just think about it. This is a Christmas festival. Who really bothers working on their cacao recipe for a Christmas festival? Nobody. Here's what they did. They probably had some cacao powder. They poured that into the cup. They poured boiling water into the cup, and then they charged you a ridiculous price. I bet you that the price of producing such a cup of cacao was maybe not even a pound, half a British pound maybe, not even that, maybe a quarter of a British pound, excuse me, maybe 50 cents, some such. I mean, it's crazy, insane. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about price. I don't go for the most pricey option when it comes to drinking beverages outside, especially not at a festival where the cacao isn't in question. It would have been different if I went to a restaurant that specialized in serving you hot cacao or chocolate or some such. Then they could perhaps have justified such a ridiculous price on their cups of cacao because they specialized in bringing in exclusive cacao beans from the Peruvian mountains, harvested by experts who have done this for centuries, for 15 generations. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But that's the point. Then you're getting an experience, right? You're not getting an experience, or you're getting a bad experience by receiving what's probably a plastic or a paper cup at this festival that's about this size, and they're charging you 11 British pounds or 15 US dollars. It's crazy and insane. And so the reason I'm going on and on and on about this crazy price of a cup of cocoa is simply put, quit wasting your time and energy on nonsense like this. This is a Christmas festival. The reason why this festival has been so ridiculously expensive, because I bet you that the hot cocoa wasn't the only thing that was expensive there. Here's what I think. This Christmas festival has been arranged every single year since, I don't know, way back when. The prices of renting public space, because that's what I'm assuming that this festival had to do in London, the prices have skyrocketed. Everything is so expensive, so they can't rent as much space. So it means that they can only rent a smaller amount of space, which means that they're cramming more and more people into a disproportionately smaller area of festival space. And so everyone is, the mood is chaotic, the vibe is bad, people are aggressive, prices are going up. It's just bad. It's just horrible to be there. And on top of that, they're gonna have to pay $15 for a cup of cocoa? Really? Are you kidding me? Well, obviously you're not kidding me. So I mean, let's take an educated guess. What do you think the price of hot cocoa will be at the 2026 London Annual Christmas Festival? I'm assuming it's going to skyrocket to 13 British pounds. Some such. No, let's actually say 15 British pounds, which is roughly 20 US dollars. 20 US dollars per cup of hot cocoa, or 80 US dollars. $80 for four cups of not coffee, but cocoa for your family of 4. That's crazy. Here's my major point. Quit wasting your time and energy on these nonsensical places. Go buy your cocoa elsewhere. Buy your Christmas present way before you go to any of these festivals, and stay away from the festivals because people are just aggressively, they're elbowing you everywhere. They want to get forward, or they want to move forward. The mood is bad. Nobody wants to really be there. Everybody just wants to go home. It's just awful. So, and it is a massive time and energy vampire. This is the archetypical example, a festival like this, of a time and energy vampire. And with that being said, if you want to learn more about time and energy vampires, then consider opting into my email list. The link to so is below the episode description, wherever you are watching and or listening to this. Thank you, and I will see you later.